Hello and welcome to the What's On podcast. This is episode 6. My name is Zachary.
My name is Ryan.
And today we're going to be focusing on the Star Wars franchise. Because we're both big fans of the series, and we just wanted to do this special episode before, because next week we're going to go and watch episode 9, and we're going to do a podcast on it. And so we wanted to have this precursor one to just talk about episodes 1 to 8 and a few other side films and just Star Wars in general, really. So I think we're going to start with the news as normal. So just stuff that's happened this week. Do you have anything you want to bring up first?
The only thing that I've seen is that the trailer yesterday was released. Well, this week, not yesterday. This week was for The Boys Season 2.
The Amazon series.
The Boys Season 2.
Yep.
Otherwise, I've not had much chance to look up news, so if you've got anything.
Yeah, well, The Boys I'm really looking forward to because I really enjoyed the first season. Did you watch all of it?
I've watched a little bit of it, but not much. I just need to get into the rest of it, but obviously with Season 2 coming up, I need to.
Yeah, and I thought they did a really good job with the trailer because the trailer had zero dialogue in it. It was literally just all action for about a minute and a half, and it still had a good way of showing what's going to happen in this series, so I thought it was a really good trailer. So a few things I saw was they released the trailer for Mulan, the live action. Did you catch that?
I didn't know.
Yeah.
Another one.
Another
live action.
But I don't know, this one I watched and they're doing a lot of changes from the Disney, the animated one. Like they're not bringing in like Mushu the dragon. I think they're going semi-more realistic. There is some magic in it, but it's its own take on the film, on the adaptation. So I think that's really good rather than just a strict scene for scene, change it to live action. So I'm quite happy that they're taking it its own way but keeping the same themes. The full trailer for James Bond came out for No Time to Die. That looks pretty good. It showed Christopher Waltz, because we mentioned this last week in that teaser came out about it, but so Christopher Waltz is in it and Rami Malek is shown as the villain in it, and he looks really good. Is this another one that you've not quite caught yet?
I've heard of it. I've heard, obviously, but I haven't watched it yet.
Yeah. But he looks like he's going to be a really good villain, and he's got like this god complex kind of character, which is always good. MCU, Black Widow trailer came out. That looks alright. It's set as a sequel to Civil War. That's where it's set, so that's why she's still alive, as it were. Spoilers for Endgame. And David Harbour's in it, who is from Stranger Things, the sheriff.
Okay.
Remember, that's who's playing it, and he's playing like a Russian Soviet Captain America, basically. Yeah. And I think the villain in that's meant to be Taskmaster. So if people who follow comics know who that is, they could be excited for that. I think he's the main. I don't think it's been confirmed as the main villain, but he's definitely in it. But that looks alright. Ghostbusters Afterlife. Now, this was a funny one. No, I know you're giving that a look. Is it? The one I wanted because I didn't watch the previous Ghostbusters, and I don't think I should have because I think it was rated like one of the worst movies of the year.
Oh God, yeah.
But I think I found funny about this one is that they're doing it as the sequel to Ghostbusters 2. Okay. And blanketing out.
Good.
Good. Like, they're basically not like they're doing it as a direct sequel to those two original films and ignoring that
completely uncanonising that one
basically. But like the original cast is coming back. Also now like Bill Murray, Sigourney Weaver, and a couple of others. What else was there? Batman. I think we brought that up a couple of times, but they're getting a pretty star-studded cast. Like Robert Pattinson as Batman. Yeah. Jeffrey Wright. Have you seen Westworld?
No, I have not.
The guy he plays Arnold, or he plays, I can't remember his name in it, but he's the guy who plays that. He's playing Gordon, so that's a good casting. We've already mentioned Colin Farrell as Penguin. Circus as Alfred, and another new one is John Turturro, who played like the have you watched Transformers?
Which one?
Any of them. He's like the conspiracy guy who they always go to, who knows computers, and he was in The Big Lebowski. Yeah. So it's getting a pretty star-studded cast, the Batman film. So I think it's got a solid chance of being alright. Like, they're getting some proper big names in there, and I had to get a bit excited for it now. All this, I think they were also meant to have Jonah Hill, but I think some things broke down. I think he was meant to be playing the Penguin, but then stuff broke down, and now Colin Farrell's playing him. Now let's get into Christmas. Just this last thing in movie news. What do you think Die Hard is a Christmas movie?
Yes.
Why?
Easily. It's all about Christmas. Yes, it's an action film and everything, but it's based at Christmas. It's got Christmas themes in it. They talk about Christmas in it. It's a Christmas
puns.
party. It's a Christmas film, and it is the best Christmas film ever. Like, Christmas Day, Christmas morning, if you've got the TV on while you're opening your presents, you're watching Die Hard.
It's an argument that always comes up, and I saw it as I was researching. Just, it's Die Hard, a Christmas movie.
Yeah, well, that's it. Because I watched a comedian a few years ago. He was in. Oh, what was he? He was the host. He was the big Irish comedian. I can't remember his name.
No.
And he was saying how he sent his kid to a primary school that didn't have a religion, but they had to sit through the nativity no matter what, and they had to do it. And he was like, I don't want this. If you're gonna do a Christmas story, do something better than the nativity.
Do Die Hard.
A Christmas Carol. Die Hard. I mean, who wouldn't want to see little kids reenacting the Nakatomi Plaza? Come on.
Okay. Here at this school, we do things differently.
Yeah.
People normally do the nativity, but we like to do a stage play of Die Hard every year.
Exactly. Who wouldn't want that?
Oh, but yeah, the amount. I think it's a Christmas film, and
Definitely a Christmas
just
film.
the amount of puns in it. Just thanks for the machine gun. Ho,
Yeah.
ho, ho. But it's funny you talk about the nativity, because something in gaming news was a trailer's come out for a game called I Am Jesus Christ, where you play as Jesus and go through the whole Bible story.
Oh God.
And it's set in first person mode, in Skyrim mode, with the hands and everything.
Yeah.
That's how the gameplay is, and it's you going around performing miracles and going through the story of Jesus Christ.
Oh my God, that sounds awful.
Really, it looks, the trailer's funny, but it's just how did this come about?
Oh.
But it's you should watch the trailer. I think you'd find it funny.
I need to see the part where he's holding the cross or getting whipped and stuff. How would that work in first person?
God's sake, Ryan. TV. We talked about Crisis on Infinite Earths, the DC TV thing. So that started yesterday, I think. That massive thing. We talked about it last week. But one thing I wanted to bring up, which I thought was a bit funny and a bit disappointing as well, that no one noticed or anything, was this crossover is between 5 DC TV shows, which is Supergirl, Batwoman, Flash, Arrow, and Legends of Tomorrow. These 5 shows, and it's 5-episode crossovers. Each one leads from the other. In the UK, no one owns the rights to Batwoman in regard to showing the television program, so they can't show it in the UK.
What?
No one owns the right to show it in the UK, so they can't show it in the UK.
That's ridiculous.
So people in the UK imagine they'll find some way to watch it with completely legal means, I assume. That they'll otherwise they just have to go from episode 1 to episode 3 of the crossover, which I don't know how that's sort of slipped through the gaps.
If no one's got rights to show it, surely everyone should have rights to show it then.
But it's like a distribution centre, there's no channel that's going to show it. So,
That's ridiculous.
like I said, I'll probably have to find some completely legal websites to watch online. And then the only other things, that was everything I saw for movie, games and TV. The only other thing was just some YouTube stuff. So YouTube Rewind came out. Do you know what YouTube Rewind is?
Not really seeing much about it.
So YouTube Rewind used to be like this a video at the end of the year that YouTube made that showed off creators who'd done great things in the year, who'd been popular, who'd done great videos, trends in the year, and make a big video showing that. And last year they tried to do it, they've been doing it for 8 years now. Last year they did it, made a bit of it. It became the most disliked video on YouTube. Okay. So this year they tried going the reverse way, and they did it like a top 10 list kind of video where they went, and here's the top 10 most popular videos, and here's the top 10 creators, and it was an alright video, but it got the same response. Everyone just disliked it. I think, I don't know, they tried going, I don't know, I think they just tried going, so everyone liked these videos, so we put it in this video, everyone's got to like this. And then everyone just went, no. And one thing for creators on YouTube, specifically gaming, a piece of stuff that I read up was when you like to do with putting stuff on YouTube, like a big thing with creators is getting demonetized, where their videos won't get advertising put on it, so they can't generate ad revenue or revenue for themselves from it. And normally stuff like that is swearing, non-friendly content like violence. That's what can swiftly get it demonetized. But a change they made this week, was scripted periods of. I'd have to look over again, but it's something like scripted things of violence, such as through gameplay.
Yeah.
They won't. They say they won't demonetize it straight away because it's a scripted.
Okay.
Appearance of violence. That's for the purpose of the gameplay, for the purpose of the game, and that they'll only focus on demonetizing videos that are showing violence for the purpose of showing violence. Like, because obviously there's like Mortal Kombat sort of type that you can't. That creators previously just like, well, I can't not show half the gameplay because the whole thing's violence.
That is the game.
So that's to help like creators who play those sort of games, or like Call of Duty, for instance.
Yeah.
Just like you can't play it and you can't show it on YouTube without it getting demonetized. So they're taking steps towards removing that, so creators can get some ad revenue from it. So I thought that was a good change. But that's everything I saw this week. Quite a bit there, and a bit rushed through it, but it's been an interesting week. So we're going to go to main stuff. So Star Wars. So we're going to go into a little brief overview over each of the trilogies and then go into some specific details. So is there anything that comes to mind when you think of prequel trilogy?
Prequel trilogy, well, obviously when it comes to the actual films, there's definitely, it shows more obviously of the Jedi side, the politics side of it.
Yeah.
That's what you think with some of the films, because what I thought when I watched them, obviously I love them, and they definitely show the story towards going into the original trilogy, but at times it was very politicsy, wasn't it? Don't you think? Yeah,
it was a big focus on the thing with the prequel series is they've got an end point. Like they know where the three films have got to end up.
Yeah,
which is at A New Hope. I think they did a good job of finishing the three films at that point, but they also had to like build what the world was, and that involved like a lot of politics. Like,
that involved a lot of politics, but it also, they did a really good job, even though with all that politics, showing how, say, Darth Sidious rose to power, and how he did it in a really sleight of hand type of way through his alter ego.
Well, in a very smart way.
In a very, very smart way. I mean, it started from the beginning of the first film, when Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan are going to the Trade Federation as negotiators, because they've set up a blockade on Naboo, haven't they? Yeah. Which was started by Darth Sidious to overthrow power in the Republic so he could take over. Yeah. Good start.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's the three films showing Palpatine or Darth Sidious's rise in the old version of how it was, which is the prequels, and then showing how he then dominated going into the original series. It's interesting introduction, as well as it is the main point of the three films, isn't it? It's showing the relationship between the planet that the Jedis and the Republic are on, and then how because the Jedi are like police officers, really, aren't they?
They're like peacekeepers for the galaxy. So it's good how they showed a lot of the other worlds as well that you never saw in the original trilogies. Like, you never really saw Naboo, you never saw Coruscant. Yeah. And a few of the others as well. Like, you only got set places in the original, so they added to that. Yeah. Because another one that they obviously showed in the Revenge of the Sith was obviously Kashyyyk, the Wookiee homeworld, because they wanted in the original trilogy to put the final battle in Return of the Jedi there, in Kashyyyk, but they didn't have the budget for it to make a load of Wookiee people. So instead they went with the
miniature Ewoks
instead. I mean, obviously that's restricting, but they managed to do it in Revenge of the Sith.
And that would be another reason why they weren't able to show as many planets.
Yeah, because of money.
And because of the time it was in, where there was a lot less. Because like Mustafar and I can't remember the planet that Obi-Wan goes to confront Grievous. But
Yes, I know which one you mean. Yeah,
but again, a lot of practical effects like that, very stone
CGI
rocky
and stuff. Yeah,
they were able to show off a lot more of the galaxy. Really, wasn't it? They were able to do a lot more to expand the scale of this universe, like because it starts off in a galaxy far, far away, and being able to show through effects how wide this galaxy really is, and demonstrate a lot and show a lot of the world off.
It also the prequels also bring in obviously Anakin from a young boy, so it shows his rise into the Jedi, and then his final demise into the dark side. Yeah, which is a good way of showing the story of that.
Because the 6 films are basically just around Anakin. Really,
it is.
They? And even then has lingering effects going into 7 and 8, don't they? Because I think in 8, Snoke's basically got Kylo Ren going, God, I just wanted you as a new Vader. Yeah. And he praises, because you don't really know too much about Snoke even after the 8th film. But he's obsessed with Vader and trying to find a new one. Because he seems to admire him that much. But it all surrounds Anakin. Yeah. And I read up on the first one a little bit because I'd forgotten, because they had an argument with him about he being too old to train, and I couldn't remember why that was. Do you remember what it was before I go into it?
I think it was just like they said he was. I think he was 9 in the film, so that was too old. That they used to train him from a lot younger. But I think Yoda also had a bit of apprehension about training him because he said he's got too much fear.
He's got too. It was about emotional ties as well, which links to that fear that he had strong emotional ties with his mother. Yeah. And when they used to train them, as you say, infancy, so they're an objective party. Yeah. They just are Jedis. Yeah. And they're not.
They've got no family. Yeah. In essence, really, innit?
Yeah. But I think with the 3, because we're going to bring in the side films and side stuff every now and again, but there was a lot of expanded stuff I never watched it, but the animated series, the Clone Wars between the 2nd and 3rd one, there's a huge amount of information from the 1st to the 3rd film in not just the prequel trilogy, but prior to A New Hope, they've done a huge amount of universe expanding through the films, through the animated series, and through comics. And then I'm pretty sure they've done a lot of comics in 4 to 6, but I don't know if it's to the same extent because
I'm not too sure about the comics when it comes to that. I've seen a few things, but not massive amount when it comes to that.
But I guess there's more to talk about between 1 to 3 because obviously there's a lot more characters to focus on. Everyone's not old because
everyone's still around. Yeah, but it's also the case obviously between episodes 2 and 3 you've got the Clone Wars, a massive struggle, which obviously the animated series were about the Clone Wars and how they fought in them, bringing in a few other characters or bringing characters back as well, because the thing that I saw, because I have seen a few episodes of the animated stuff, not many but a few, and they do really well in humanising the clones, which obviously you never really saw in the episodes 2 and 3, did you?
No.
You just saw
very
them,
minimal amounts.
Yeah, you just saw them mainly as drones. Yeah. In essence, it was like 2 droid armies going against each other. Yeah. Most of the way.
But they were a clone race, weren't they? Yeah. They were bred to fight, really, weren't they? Yeah. The equivalent of Urukai in Lord of the Rings, aren't they? They were just grown to go and do war. And they did have because the only thing I can remember from the top of my head, I'm sure there was more examples, was the interaction between Obi-Wan and the captain when he went to the planet that General Grievous was on. The interaction, and then immediately after the Order 66, he was just switch.
Yeah, there was, if I remember right now, there wasn't any others. It was just that Commander Cody. Yeah, that was it. Yeah. Those were the only ones that you saw. Yeah. Whereas in the animated series, they did bring them in a bit. But either way, that prequel trilogy did a really good job of bringing the story of then how the Jedi fell. Because
of the improvements in technology, they had the ability to do improvements in battle scenes, such as the lightsaber fights, which are superior to the ones in the original series, because of technology improvements. There was nothing I think the longest fight. We'll talk about battle scenes a lot more later on, but the longest scene in the original trilogy was probably Empire Strikes Back.
Yep.
Between Vader and Luke, and then the only other time is again Luke and Vader. But in the first three films, there's a range of them. So I think that was a real improvement, some real good addition, because they were able to do that.
Yeah.
And then obviously the place in the story, it being prior to the original series, they could do whatever they want.
Oh yeah.
As long as they finished on everyone dying basically.
Yeah, and making it into that Anakin has gone into Vader now.
Yeah.
And the Empire has taken over.
So that must have been a really interesting conversation when they were organising it, because it's just like, we've got free reign to create this backstory, and the only thing we need to do is finish at this point. That must have been a really interesting conversation, like going into it. And the third film, they definitely did a great job of, like, because I know some people have issues with it, but I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the Revenge of the Sith. But I think they did an amazing job in that film to close so many plot holes.
Yeah.
Like, because after the second film, it's like, well, they're going to have to do a lot in the third film to get it to the fourth film.
Yeah.
But they managed to close like all the Jedis, where they went, how they all died, why clones who were friends in the second one, why are they the enemies in the fourth one.
Yep.
Anakin, obviously, what happened to Obi-Wan, the kids, everything. Like, they did a really good job of that. We'll go and probably go back to it after in some questions later, but we'll go into the original trilogy now.
Yep.
Anywhere you want to start?
Well, obviously with the original trilogy, it was the first thing that anyone ever saw of Star Wars, and for, like, say, A New Hope, it did really well to bring in the entire story, because I know that George Lucas, when he first made Star Wars, he knew what he wanted to do the whole way through.
Yep.
So he already had the backstory, the everything. He even knew pretty much what he wanted to do with the prequels. It's just he didn't have the technology at the time at that point to do it. But the original trilogy, obviously, in my opinion, is the best.
Yeah.
It is just a wonderful story, like, and a sci-fi marvel. Really, I mean, like, obviously you start off with Luke on Tatooine, just being a farmer, to learning from Obi-Wan that your father was a Jedi, and we want you to be too. But it brings in kind of dark themes as well. The original trilogy, it's not all just hope and, you know, love and everything, and it's all going well. You've got really, really dark moments. So, like, pretty much, I think, like, Empire Strikes Back was a very dark film. Yeah. Very dark film. But then they did well, obviously, with Return of the Jedi, to bring it back into how Luke has now changed. Yeah. Because, like you said, obviously, like, the 6 films are all about Anakin's story, but the 3 originals are also Luke's story, from being just a farmer, not knowing his past and his parents or anything, to being the Jedi Master when it comes to Return of the Jedi. And with, obviously, like, the constraints that they had at the time. I mean, the first film came out in 1977, a long time ago, and then they did really well, and it looks good. Obviously, they've changed it since then, because, like, say, the original A New Hope was redone. Well, it was redone. They what was it called? They kind of like they remastered it in 1997 or something like that. So obviously, get rid of, like, some of the little things that you could actually see in the original. I was like, oh, that's a constraint at the time.
I mean, that's just like visual, like, aesthetic stuff. Isn't it? Like, I know a stupid cut they did was like Greedo and Han, didn't they?
Yeah.
Because one shooting the other, I can't remember. Like, there's the thing Han shot first,
which George Lucas put in, that Han shot first, but I don't think.
But then they edited it out, and it was Greedo, and it was just like, it was an unneeded. Like, but the majority of the remastered stuff was just to make it more visually appealing for a new audience. Basically, like 20 years on, it's just like we want new people to watch this and enjoy it and become fans of the series.
But the original trilogy is definitely timeless. Can't touch it anymore, can you?
Yeah,
anymore than you can. It's just one of those sci-fi trilogies that is perfect.
I think we talked about in the prequel trilogy that was, they could have free reign to expand this world and go into this original trilogy. But this original trilogy was amazing in setting up this world, because they had to, like, it didn't exist prior to that, and did a great job in these three films, because they're not hugely long compared to today's standard, are they, to build such a great expanded world that people got behind. Why do you think that these films created such this massive base, like fan base and community?
It's a good question. I mean,
I know in the time that this will be
yeah.
revolutionary, like the idea, like
I mean,
in 1977.
maybe obviously like the time that they were made. I'm pretty sure sci-fi was like a massive thing back then, wasn't it? Obviously, because at the time you had Alien as well, and other sci-fi films at the time. So like obviously Star Wars was the sci-fi film.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously like the story behind it all. It's not much you can. And like obviously I can't talk for other people, but it's just the way that Star Wars is. It just appeals.
Because obviously we were born 20 years after the first one came out, so
really, in essence, ours was the prequels.
Yeah,
but
it's impressive that it's 40 years on now, and people are still like the Star Wars basis is bigger than ever, and it's going to continue because it's going to continue for a long time. So I think it's just a really impressive feat what these films have done, both in terms of building this world as well as having such a massive community in the modern day.
Why do you think that it's continued to be and grow?
I think, like you say, the quality of the films. I think the original trilogy is an amazing original trilogy. The inclusion, like I think a lot of people like watched it and gone, "Oh, the Force, and I think we've all done it at some time when we were kids, like tried to move something, like just try to get the remote closer to us or something like that. It's just those kid things, isn't it? Like especially the prequel trilogies and either one really. It's just it's a series you can really get behind, and I think it's a series sort of built to have a community really. Like there's some films you can watch and enjoy, but this is a film like these are a series of films and a world to explore and learn more about and be involved with. We talked a couple of weeks ago about Marvel, about the Infinity War, and we talked about how impressive the ending to that was, that they finished on a dark moment, ended it, and it was just like, wow, if someone had seen that first time going, what happens next? But Empire Strikes Back did that much longer ago, did the same thing. Infinity War did the same thing as Empire Strikes Back. That, like you say, it was a dark film throughout, relatively, and then at the end they finish it on the lowest point, that Luke's been defeated by Vader relatively easily, Han's been lost, and they've got to go and find something else, and that's how the film ends. So I think that's a really impressive thing they finished on. It's obviously one of the best, and obviously the twist was Darth Vader, I'm your father, which was obviously a twist in the day. That's this massive cliffhanger, basically, so long ago.
I know, still going on, isn't it?
I think it's really impressive. They managed to, they chose to do a film like that and ended a film like that. I think that was just a point that I thought was impressive at the time. We'll come back onto, obviously this is just a brief overview, and we're going to go into more detail in a minute, but the third trilogy, or the third, it's going to finalise in a couple of weeks, is Force Awakens, Last Jedi. Same thing. Any initial thoughts on them?
I'd say with this one, as much as I do like it in a way. Especially I liked The Force Awakens because it brought you back into Star Wars from so long ago. But I feel like this trilogy it kind of repeats.
In which way?
I think it repeats on the original trilogy, because if you think about it, The Force Awakens is, if you think Luke, farmer, Rey, scavenger. They've the First Order, the Empire, the Resistance, the Rebels. Then you've got Kylo Ren, who wants to be Vader, pretty much. You've got Snoke, who's pretty much like Darth Sidious. And then you've got an array of other little characters and everything. No Jedi, pretty much, except for Rey learning of her powers. And A New Hope had the Death Star, and
they had the Mega Death Star.
The Mega Death Star in The Force Awakens of the planet one. It's just copying it in a way, and it's kind of the same in the second one in a way. It's The Last Jedi, Last Jedi, where it's kind of like Empire Strikes Back, where they say like the Resistance are running away from the Empire because they've been thrown out, and then you've also got Rey going to find a mythical master of the Jedi ways, which is exactly what Luke did.
Yeah.
It's just following on, isn't it? And then Rey returning at the last minute to try and help them, which Luke did in the same way.
Yeah, I understand that definitely.
Yeah.
I feel especially The Last Jedi,
Yeah.
the sequel series is starting to get heat like the prequel series did.
Yeah.
And I think, especially with The Last Jedi, it's getting even more heat. One, because of the comparisons between like the copy in it, and two, because it's not going in the way they want it to.
Mm-hmm.
I think one thing I wanted to bring up with sequel series, because the original series was the original series, prequel was building towards the original series.
Yeah.
With a sequel series, it's new land, it's new stuff, it's building this new world that is going on. How did stuff happen after after the Return of the Jedi? And I think one thing I found thinking about was it must be a very nervous affair to continue something when there's this massive community.
Yeah.
And the idea of canon, the idea that once you put something in a film, that is how it is.
Yeah.
And there's nothing you can do to change it because that is canon.
Yeah.
Like Rian Johnson, he gets a lot of heat for what he's done in The Last Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was an alright film.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was the best, but it was a Star Wars film and I enjoyed it.
Exactly, yeah.
But stuff like Snoke dying,
Yeah, that one was a major one.
Luke dying, where they finish up, all this is canon. Like, you can't bring Luke back, you can't do this, you can't do that. That is canon to the story now. Mm-hmm. And I got thinking for a bit, like saying how much of an affair that must be on a director or a person when they've got this massive community that knows it's going to absolutely blast you if you get it wrong.
Yeah.
And how much responsibility that must be to continue something like that.
Oh, yeah.
Your thoughts on that, or?
Yeah, I'd definitely say, obviously, you've got to tread lightly when it comes to it, because otherwise you are going to get a lot of stick. Because, especially, some of the stuff I can understand, but when it comes to, the sequel ones, I don't think they've done the best job in doing it. I mean, a main example I feel with that is Snoke, like you said. He's meant to be powerful. He's meant to be more powerful than Darth Sidious ever was.
Where does it say that?
I've definitely read that somewhere. Someone saying it. I'm sure I have. I'll have to have a look. But that's what I've heard. And he's dead in the second one. You don't see of anything that he does at all. And that's it. Kylo Ren just gets him. Yeah. Tricks him in a way.
Tricks him
into believing that he's killing Rey, but he's actually killing him. And that's it. Snoke's gone. Yeah. Even though in the first one, in the first of the sequel trilogy, he was kind of in the background there, but as a menace, oh my god.
It's the same as you say with the comparisons to the original trilogy, won't it? It's Palpatine in the background, overseeing and controlling everything. Snoke was the same, but in a sense they've switched up. Yeah. Saying that, they've already revealed that Palpatine's the main villain of the whole series now, isn't it? From 1 to 9, he is the main person because he's coming back in 9, where I can't see how he could not be the main villain at the end, even with this Kylo Ren stuff, which I imagine will result in him being forgiven in some way.
Redemption.
Something like that. I can imagine that'll happen. It might not, but I imagine it will be.
I just feel like they've lost a bit of the originality because they just seem to have copied a little bit. What do you think?
I think the first, I enjoyed the first one, same as the second one. I just think they were trying to do it too close to what it was, and it did work for The Force Awakens, I think, even though it had the comparisons at, but I think it would have been nice to see a bit of something different, take it a new way. And I know it's difficult with it being such a huge series, but it would have been nice with something more. Yeah,
because I feel like when they went with Force Awakens, Force Awakens was brilliant because it brought the universe back to people, and it was more like a cameo drop, in a way, because you had all the original cast come back, and from there they just kind of want.
I think the second one was their chance to take steps, make changes to it. I think it just went wrong, a little bit wrong. In The Last Jedi, the only fight scene, well, if you can even call it, there's obviously the blasters and the starship fights, but the only lightsaber not even fight but clash was Luke attacking Ben in his sleep.
Yeah.
That was the only clash, and that scene was played 3 times within about 10 minutes. That was like, it showed his version, showed his version, showed his version. That was.
There was a bit in Snoke's throne room, but that was more. It wasn't
That
lightsaber on
yeah.
lightsaber. That was more lightsaber on.
And that was.
Yeah.
Have you seen a breakdown of that fight scene?
No.
It's like it shows Rey like kicking a guy, and 3 guys like spin off, and then 1 guy falls over in the background. It's just like say one.
Yeah.
Rey kicks one person, he goes flying. Kylo gets grabbed from behind, and it's just like, and then Rey like drops a lightsaber and spins it.
Yeah.
But if she did that, she would have stopped pressure on his hand, and she would have got a head cut. And I think it's just a scene that they had to put in to have some sort of big lightsaber battle, because they hadn't one in there previously. But yeah, I was a bit disappointed with Snoke's end. I imagine they'll have to put something in next one. I mean, they might not do, but it'd be sort of just like, oh, who was Snoke? He was the guy we took notice of in the first 2 films.
Yeah.
Then he just died. He didn't really come from anywhere, but
he was just around.
Yeah, he was just there. He was a filler. Which is a bit of a shame, because I really like Andy Serkis who played him.
Yep.
But then Palpatine's in the next one, so I imagine, this is me theorising, that there'll be some link between those 2, and explaining how that's resulted in how obviously Palpatine's still alive. I don't know, just me theorising there. But yeah, that's it for the third trilogy up to now. So now we're going to go to some specifics. So, your favourite film?
My favourite film is kind of a favourite of most people. I'd say it's definitely Empire
Last
Strikes
Jedi?
No. Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
So I like the dark tones that it brings. I like how it does kind of expand the world a bit more, because you go to a few more places, because compared to like A New Hope, all you had at that point was Tatooine and Yavin. Everything else was space. Whereas with Empire Strikes Back, you start off in Hoth, then you're a bit in space, but then you also go to I can't remember the planet's name that Yoda lived on. Dagobah. That was it. The Dagobah system. Then you've also got Bespin.
Is that Line of Carol?
The Cloud City.
Yep.
So you're expanding it more, making it more open, like more world piece. But it's like I said, the dark tones. So like it's not like the hope of the rebels are just going to win. It's like you've been knocked back, proper bad, and it's showing like the timeline of actually showing Luke become a Jedi, bringing in Yoda. Bringing in a bit more of the background story towards what the Jedi were. And it's just a brilliant film. Like, it's got everything. And like you said before, when it comes to the ending, another dark ending. And I like... Because
that middle section where he's getting trained, and you think he's just seeing that Leia and Han are in trouble, and he's going to fly back, and the story's going to go. He's going to get back, and he's either going to stop them, he's going to defeat Vader,
he's going to defeat it,
But then it just turns on his head.
Yeah,
just goes,
it's a brilliant film, and then obviously it brings in the twist as well of "I am your father." It's just a
spoilers, Jesus.
Sorry, guys. So that's definitely my favourite film. How about you?
Mine's Empire Strikes Back's favourite for me. I'd say my second favourite would probably be Revenge of the Sith, and reason for that is, 1, the fight scenes, 2, how they closed up all the plot points going into the majority plot points at least, and just how they finished it as well. I think I just wanted to add that in just so we don't have the same answer.
Exactly.
But Empire Strikes Back, I think that's very common and a quite right answer. Well, right answer, obviously subjective opinion. But yeah, great film. So, wanted to talk about villainous characters outside of Vader and Palpatine, because they're their own section, I think. So, is there any that you think of as a good villainous character outside?
A good villainous character.
I've got all of them.
You've got all of them?
Most of them.
Yeah.
Like the interesting ones.
Well,
what's one that pops to mind outside of those 2 at least?
Tarkin. Tarkin's quite a villainous character. Grandma, the Tarkin. Do you remember from A New Hope?
Nope.
Do you not?
Nope.
Not at all?
Nope.
Really? Okay.
Which one's that?
It's the one of the Imperial officers that was in charge of the Death Star.
Right.
For A New Hope. He was like an
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You remember him now?
Yeah.
Like an all-round, just a bad guy.
Yeah.
I mean, he's the one that blew up Alderaan, told them to do it, just to spite Leia.
Yeah.
And generally, like, I mean, they're not clones at that point in A New Hope anymore. They are humans, and he is generally evil.
Yeah.
And he also obviously comes back in for the prequel Rogue One.
Yeah.
And obviously has he is Krennic's superior. And he's talking to him as well and showing his evilness as well.
Yeah.
And generally, he's really good. I mean, surprised they killed him off so quick, obviously, with A New Hope. But...
Yeah, he was a really good character now that I've remembered him.
Yeah.
But it just reminded me of that was a really good example of an evil character as, like, in a position of military.
Yeah.
And in The Last Jedi, there was that General Hux.
Yeah.
I really didn't like his character.
General Hux.
No, I didn't really like his character. I think he did a good portrayal.
Yeah.
Like a good actor of it, but
the actor did.
The character itself, it was just a very whiny, just a very whiny character.
Yeah.
It wasn't a character that I enjoyed watching, really. So ones I had was Darth Maul, which, aside from the animated series, because I know they delved a lot more into Darth Maul, because spoilers again.
Yeah.
Was he survived after Phantom Menace? He got resurrected, or he got built up, or something like that.
He survived, but obviously he had no legs, so they gave him some metal legs.
Yeah, pretty much. They gave him some metal legs.
Metal legs. There you go. Have that.
So, but just focusing on the first film, even though he wasn't like an interesting character in it, he did have one of the most interesting, best fight scenes throughout the whole films. Like when they brought out a double-sided lightsaber, that was like, so that's a new thing.
Yeah.
And obviously, in the lightsaber battles that happened in the original series was just like it was just one after another. It wasn't. This was a completely different beast. This was athletic. This was spinning. This was fighting two people at once. Yeah. And all three of them are young, or at least like, they're all athletic. Yeah. Like they were spinning around, jumping, attacking. I think it was a completely different thing that I'd experienced in the original trilogy.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'd say the thing about that one, obviously the athleticism and the better choreographed fights when it comes to the original, to the prequels, is that in the originals you've got Luke, who's not really that well trained when it comes to fighting, whereas the prequels, they're all fully fledged Jedi or Sith. They've had years to practice their craft. They know what they're doing.
Yeah, true.
So Darth Maul. I mean, obviously you don't find out much about him, do you?
No,
but
nothing at all.
That kind of brings a bit of an edge to his character. He's very shady, and obviously when he turns up on Naboo, you see him and you're like, oh, who's this?
And he had one of the best themes across the whole, like the Jewel of the Face. Yeah. Dun dun. Like that's one of the most recognisable tunes out of the whole series, next to the opening.
Yeah. So another villainous character I'll bring into, if you're finished with Maul, is Count Dooku. Mm-hmm. Another brilliant villain. Yep. Because you find out a bit of his backstory as well. He was Qui-Gon Jinn's master. Mm-hmm. And he was a Jedi. Yep. And he was also the apprentice of Yoda. Yep. So you'd obviously thought he would have been one of the best Jedi, but he turned. Yep. And became Darth Sidious's apprentice.
Is it something like Darth Tyrannus? Something like that?
I think his name's Darth Tyrannus, yeah. And he's a different type of fighter when it comes to especially his fights. He's more old-fashioned kind of honour. Yeah. In an honour way. I mean, his lightsaber's a bit of a weird one.
Yeah, it rounds.
It's kind of like a sword hilt type saber way of fighting, but he's got a very, very honour-bound type of fight.
It actually looks like the nunchuck from like Wii, like where it bends around.
It's an interesting way, but he's not wholly evil in a way, really, is he? I mean, he's bad, obviously, but you can't really sense much good in him anymore.
So bad,
but he's not. Well, you can a bit, but you don't feel like he's wholly evil, do you?
I think I probably disagree, but I think he's more of a suave villain, so he doesn't feel like he's just doing it for evil motivations. He's just, and obviously Christopher Lee as an actor was an amazing actor. portrayed it very well. He did some amazing performances in his old, like, because in the last Hobbit film, where he played reprise Saruman, he was like 92, I think.
Yeah.
It's like, go on, Benny, he was going for a good
So
bit.
in this time, he was about 80.
Yeah, so pretty decent. So I couldn't really imagine him jumping around and
Spinning and everything like he did.
But you say about like he had like more posh ways like fighting. Like he was one of the first ones to like use the Force, like use lightning, and as opposed to the first film, which was just athletic lightsaber fighting. Yeah. This was the first villain to use the Force. I think in the second one, used against Obi-Wan, and then lightning in.
Are you talking about just in the prequels wise of using the lightning? Yeah. So just going to say, like, because remember the Return of the Jedi?
Well, obviously,
bit of lightning used there.
Well, Sidious is one where he never really used the lightsaber outside of the film. Like, in the films, he never used it, apart from Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
But I read up on a bit, and he thought that lightsabers were a lesser form of fighting.
Okay.
Which is why he used the Force for everything. Mm-hmm. And he pretty much overpowered everyone in the Force, apart from Mace Windu. Or he made a beat of things.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Count Dooku is a very good, but in a way, when I'm saying obviously like he's not wholly evil, he kind of has to be when it comes to, because this is a bit of the expanded part here thrown into it. To use Force lightning, you have to be evil. You have to be obviously well and truly into the dark side of the Force.
Well, Yoda used it in number 8.
That in a way, not in the way that it kind of shows, really, is it?
I know what you mean, though.
That's a cop-out way of saying it. That
I just love the pause that you had then.
It's like, oh, nah.
Well, it's again one of those things with canonising things, isn't it? It's just like, oh, why did you do that? And J.J. Abrams said, I read the thing this week, was he's going to introduce new Force powers in number 9. Which, well, his exact quote is something along the lines of going to be introducing new Force powers number 9, which is probably going to annoy some people.
Oh, God.
It's going to annoy people anyway, but again, that's the thing with canonising stuff, isn't it? Because when you do something in a later film, they go, why didn't X do it in episode 3?
Yeah.
Or why didn't X...
Why was it never used? Yeah.
Why didn't he do it in episode 5? Like, in The Last Jedi, Leia flying through space.
Yeah.
Just like people went, What
the hell is that?
So yeah, I just think I remembered General Grievous.
Yep, that's what
he was. He was a good villain outside of like the Sith, and because he was just this mechanical creature. I think he's shown a lot more in like the Clone Wars because he was General Grievous. But just in the films, it was nice to see an evil character outside of a Force wielding character. Like, he had this, obviously, trope with the 4 lightsabers in episode 3. But I enjoyed his character. I thought it was a good side point with him and Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
And
always fighting against each other.
So, I enjoyed his character.
Yeah. The 4 lightsaber things would have been hard to fight against, wouldn't it? That's an interesting way of fighting. But the thing is, he got trained by Count Dooku, didn't he?
Yeah.
So, another added point there.
What was the quote? Because he said something like, I've been trained by Count Dooku, and everyone's like, well, I trained the guy who killed Count Dooku.
Yeah.
Just like, oh, checkmate.
Haha. I have you now.
And then it was the memes when he comes in, hello there.
Yeah.
So going into the sequel series, Kylo Ren?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really rate him that much as a villain. I think, when you were saying about General Hux, I think Kylo Ren's a bit of a whiny kid as well. Definitely a whiny kid. I mean, he's got mum and dad issues. Major dad issues.
Tad. When he actually kills his own father.
That's major dad issues. And obviously, he's got major uncle issues as well, really, hasn't he? I mean, he's against Luke. Luke did try and kill him because he didn't want any prophecy.
But he was thinking about it.
Yeah.
And then he was just like, oh, he's seen me with a lightsaber. Damn it.
What do I do now? So, yeah, I just feel like Kylo Ren is a bit like he wants to prove himself too much, but he doesn't actually have the capability to. Because he's nowhere near as powerful as he thinks he is. And he's not as powerful as Vader. No one will ever be, in a way.
Well, I was reading into I'll go into it actually in the Vader and Sidious stuff. But Kylo Ren, it's this constant trying to show that he's obviously battling like this conflict inside him, and I think it does come across in a bad way sometimes, like this whiny aspect, like always trying to fulfill something. I think he's had some good moments, like the very first introduction to the character in Force Awakens when he comes with like the Knights of Ren, which I don't think come back since, have they?
No,
they might do in number 9. Don't know.
Maybe
I'd hope so because they seemed like a big dramatic point
they
of
just
the
showed
film. But like when he force grabs the blaster, that was one of the coolest moments.
Yeah,
of
that
the
was good.
Film. Yeah, it's because obviously he's a villainous character, and he became the main villain, you could say, at the end of number 8. Without knowledge of trailer of number 9. Like, by the end of number 8, you think he's going to be the main villain of number 9, don't you? Yeah. But it just doesn't seem like that, does it?
No. Doesn't seem like he could fulfill that space. At all.
And it has been like through 7 and 8, both through the movie telling and the actual story, that he's trying to be another Darth Vader. Like, what I mean by that is, like, story wise, they actually state it in the film that Snoke's trying to make him into another Vader. And also from an audience like perspective, when you're like comparing the films, you're trying to see him as another Vader. I think it just doesn't work.
It doesn't.
It tries to be, but it'd be nice if he was just his own thing, as opposed to just trying to be another Vader. Like, they're this massively popular character. We're going to just try and make another one of him.
No,
it's not going to work. Like, Vader's Vader. I think we've talked. Last one's Snoke. I think we've talked a lot about him earlier, though.
I think we have, definitely, yeah. I think we've gone over what he is and what he's not.
I mean, yeah. We talked about Snoke earlier, so I think we'll leave that for now. And might bring him up if he next week if he appears in the film at all. He's dead, but he might. I don't know. So we'll go into the 2 big bads of the series, or the biggest characters in the series, Vader and Sidious. Is there either one you want to go into first?
I'll start with Vader. I think definitely Vader is just that character, that villain that everybody knows, but it's a character you hate. I mean, obviously Vader is bad, but it's a character you love to hate as well. You like him, but the thing, like, how he was actually written as a character is brilliant, and how it was shown, his portrayal in the films, is another good way, because it shows you obviously seeing him as a kid. What he was like as a kid, the fear, the anger, and then as he grows, he turns into a brilliant Jedi, and obviously the Jedi also have the prophecy that they think he will bring balance to the Force, and he's trying to fulfill that. He's got that weight on his shoulders, but then you see from like the middle of the second when his mum dies, and the Jedi kind of scorn him, in a way. It brings out his emotions that they don't want. And that obviously leaves him vulnerable to Sidious to take control. And from there, there's no turning back from what he did. And then to go from obviously that to Vader was brilliant, showing you the portrayal of that. And then from him being so bad as Vader to then showing you how he can redeem himself. Like, it's come full circle. He's a come full circle character, which doesn't happen that often, and in such a brilliant way. Like, Vader is an amazingly well written character that everybody knows, everybody loves.
And probably one of the best films of all time in film history, I should say. Definitely agree. Like this said previously, like the 6 films are the story of Anakin Skywalker, and even progress on, like the 9 films are the story of the Skywalker family. And the first 6 films are about Anakin Skywalker mainly. But obviously Luke at the end and start at the beginning. But just the progression showing how he fell. Like, obviously it hyped it a bit in the 3rd film, didn't it? So at the start of the 3rd film, he still had that experience with the Desert Raiders. When they killed his mother, and afterwards his worry about Padme dying and having these visions, and then that led him to try and find more and more power. So you could say in the first film the Jedi are actually right, saying that he's got too many emotional attachments, because they sort of did him in at the end, and did everyone in at the end of it.
Exactly.
In terms of redeem, this one I wanted to bring up was, can you say he's been redeemed? Because even though he was forgiven by Obi-Wan, because he's the one who taught him how to be a Force ghost, and Luke forgave him, he still killed thousands of people, of kids, children, women, men, thousands of people, thousands of families hurt by that, and because he finally had a change of heart because his son, which is an emotional thing, like he changed his mind and chucked his Sidious into the reactor core, or whatever it was. Like, should that be redeemed?
It's a hard one. I think maybe it was like the start of redemption, but yeah, he did a lot of bad, and there was no way that he was going to ever fully redeem himself from that, especially not in such a short space of time, because he saved his son. Maybe he doesn't redeem himself for everyone, but he redeems himself for himself in a way, and for his son, because in a way he's proven Luke right, because Luke said, I still feel the good in you, the conflict, and if he was wholly gone, he would have just let Sidious kill Luke, wouldn't he?
I think he definitely, like, that change point, that being able to turn on his then master and kill him was a huge thing, because not just killing him was killing him as the dictator, but it was then stopping the head of the whole empire who was getting directed, so it was then had further out effects. So I think
I don't think he was at that point thinking about all that.
No. What I mean is like that redeeming moment had great effects. But I think that can't take away from the fact he's done all this.
No.
Killing things. It's that awkward thing, isn't it, trying to balance. Because I think people think at the end of the film, he's a good character now, but there's still a huge burial site behind him, isn't there? And I think he gets off a bit scot-free at the end, because he basically gets the secret of immortality, doesn't he? Because he becomes this Force ghost. He's doing pretty alright, really.
Would you be a Force ghost though if you weren't fully redeemed or good?
Well, I read up on this. Basically, Obi-Wan forgave him and said, "Let me tell you the secret." That was basically how it went. God. He just went, "It's all right, Anakin. Like, here's we're chums. Here's how to do it." And then that's honestly how it went down. And then there was another one that I read up, was he went and saw Leia as a Force ghost, and she basically told him to sod off. Like, there was no fear of which.
Nothing.
Because this is why I wanted to focus on the bad stuff a bit, because like she has none of it. Like, she goes, "You destroyed my world, killed my father." Like, no, sod it. Like, because he goes for like going, asking for forgiveness. I've changed. That's like none of it.
Nothing.
Absolutely none of it. But Vader's one of the best characters in like I say, film history. One of the biggest arcs and one of the biggest examples of a series that's been able to tell the story. Into its 6 films is a lot, really. Isn't it? Especially in the modern day. Back then there was more sequel series, like an Alien series. There was 5, 6 of them.
Really, when it came to Sigourney Weaver, there was 4. But then you've had Alien Covenant and
Alien the remake one.
Prometheus and
so I think in the old back then there was a lot more sequels, more opportunities for that. Now I don't think there's too many. There's a few.
If you mess up with the first, you're pretty much screwed. Yeah,
so I think this is a great example of a series being able to tell that story. Isn't it? Sidious. So we talked about how good portrayal was through the prequel series, being able to show how he got into this position of power. And being smarter than Jedi, basically, by putting himself in this new position and taking over, basically. Because it seems a bit like all these Jedi are supposed to be Force sensitive, but able to sense stuff, able to know stuff, able to be this objective thing. And then next door, literally, they're going, there's their greatest enemies, basically building this
around
empire.
them.
But I think that's also a plot point of it, that the Jedi were always stuck in their old ways, whilst the Sith were innovating, they were changing, they were becoming something else.
I definitely feel like when it comes to it, Darth Sidious was playing them, and the Jedi were refusing to change to try and meet this new battle. Because I'd say that was also the way with when it came to Anakin pushing him away, because they didn't want him to have any emotional attachments. I mean, at the end of the day, he is a human. Like, they're going to have emotional attachments if you're coming in from the outside like that.
And this is with the not starting infancy as well.
Yeah, not starting at the infancy. So it's kind of a hard one. I mean, like, they say don't have any fear, don't have any anger. It's like, well, in a way, you could use those if you can show him how to properly manage that to not turn.
But remember, fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering. And then dark side and killing a lot of younglings.
Yeah, but if you can help him with that,
if you can help him
with that,
give him therapy.
If you can show him how to control that, because at the end of the day, if you think of it, the Force is balanced, isn't it? You've got to have light and you've got to have dark.
Yeah.
The Jedi are too much on the light, in a way, because they'd say, you know, obviously, if you've heard of the grey Jedi.
Yeah, like in between.
They're a bit in between. Yeah, they say like the main grey Jedi that you see in the prequels is Qui-Gon Jinn, which is why he was never on the council, because they didn't approve. Yeah, but that's the way, kind of how it should have been.
And one thing in the third film, that when Sidious or Palpatine is revealing himself to Anakin, he's talking about you must look at all aspects of the Force in order to understand it.
Yeah.
And obviously Anakin takes that as badly as saying you've looked into the dark side of the Force. But what he's saying is right. It's you can't have one perspective of it. Obviously he's doing it for evil purposes. Yeah. But what he's saying is true about only taking information from one side you can't appreciate or take into account.
You've got to look at the whole picture, haven't you? Which, in a way, is good for Darth Sidious. I mean, but on a way, he is a wholly evil person. Yeah. I mean,
like I say, he's doing it for evil purposes, but what he's saying is not true. Like, the Jedi only look at light side and they go, any consideration of the dark side is evil. Like in number 8, when Rey's when she's doing that Force thing, when she's trying to find out about the Force, and she goes towards the dark side, it's like Luke's like, okay, she's gone there, like, sod her, no, leave her, too much. Like, it's appreciation of both sides, isn't it?
Which was in a way of showing, like, obviously, when Yoda burnt the books, the Jedi books, saying, like, we need to get away from that.
The old stuff.
The old way.
What did he say? He said something like, they're not good page turners. I am interested in where they take, or what they're going to do with the character at number 9, Sidious.
Have they said much about it?
I think they've basically just said he's been manipulating everything over the last couple of films.
So you reckon maybe a Force ghost again? Because there's no... I doubt he wouldn't have survived. You don't think?
I think he's gonna make... If he survived as a physical being, it's gonna be some convoluted... Because the thing blew up in the original film, so he fell into something. Yeah. So a Force ghost potentially.
Maybe a Force ghost, or maybe I don't know. Because I thought maybe when you said obviously that he was coming back, it's like, is he coming back? Is it just like a flashback?
No, he's a presence in the film.
Yeah. So, it's a bit strange, isn't it?
I hope he does alright. I hope it's done in a good way. It's the last film of the trilogy, so I hope they finalise it in some sort of way.
You'd hope.
But I think he's going to have to be some sort of physical presence as well as a Force ghost, because there's going to have to be some sort of finale fight, isn't there? Yeah. Which is going to be... I don't think that they're going to keep him around for any potential sequel series. No. So there must be some sort of final battle or final way that they get rid of him. So there must be some sort of physical presence and not just as a Force ghost, unless they say there's some way to kill a Force ghost. But I think,
which is a bit strange.
But then again, he does say introducing new Force powers, so who knows?
True. Yeah.
Again, theorising here. But that's something that crossed my mind. Back to Darth Vader for a sec. I thought a really great example of showing the fear that created was in Rogue One. Yeah. During the final scene. Yeah. You want to go?
Yeah, that scene was pretty good. It obviously showed how they were so scared of him and how menacing he actually was as Vader. Yeah. Because they're trying to get out and then suddenly they just
Zoom.
yeah,
Like,
they
lights
just cut
up,
the lights up, and then they're like, oh,
problems.
they're here. Oh yeah, we're gonna die.
And probably also thinking, oh, we don't have plot armor here.
Nope.
like there's nothing stopping. But I think that was an amazing scene. They already knew that Vader was one of the most powerful and terrifying characters in the original series. But I think it was a great example of showing that fear in a new movie.
Yeah.
Like, I think that was a great ending to the film.
It's when you heard the
music.
It wasn't just the music; it was the his breathing. You're like, oh no.
And it was also like, oh yes, he's here.
He's
in the film. But he was already in the film.
He was already about fighting.
Yeah, but
showing
this
fighting.
was a proper good example.
Yeah.
Showing it. And obviously it was a good example of, this was the first time that I can think of that they showed the Force powers shown in a brutal way. Like he was flinging them to the ceiling, knocking them down. Obviously they'd done the Force choke before, but this was a brutal showing of... Excuse me. So, anything else on Sidious and Vader?
I think we've covered everything there as far as I'm aware.
So I wanted to go into the best fight scenes of the series.
Yep.
Is there anything that pops to mind immediately, or ones you wanted to go on?
Well, there's one I think we should save till last. I think we know which one that one is.
Yeah.
One that definitely pops to mind for me is the Attack of the Clones.
Yep.
The stadium, Geonosis Stadium.
The Battle Royale.
The battle, between all those Jedi and the droids.
Yeah.
That was a brilliant piece.
It was a spectacle.
That was a massive spectacle. All those Jedi, like we'd never seen that before. So many Jedi together fighting against a massive droid army. It was it was different.
Yeah.
But it was action packed and it was good. It was really, really good, and it was obviously showing how the Jedi fought, especially in a large group.
And it was really taking advantage of having that number of Jedi, which had never been a case before, isn't it?
No, because you'd only had the one or two that survived, whereas you've got the full might of the Jedi Order.
And even in the first film, there was a showing of the Council on there, but it was just Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon fighting, wasn't it?
Yeah.
This was
All
everyone, basically.
Yeah.
I do love the story of Samuel Jackson only going into it saying, I'm only going to be in the film if you give me a purple lightsaber.
Yeah. I want to be able to see where I am.
But it's yeah, I think that's a great one. And it was also where I always get them mixed up. Is it Boba Fett dies in this one?
No, that's Jango.
Jango Fett.
It's Jango
I always
Fett.
get him mixed up.
It's Jango Fett that dies in the first one because he's the one that the clones were made off.
And Boba Fett
is the
one
original
from
in the original series.
Because he was a good introduction to the series. He was just it's what's his name?
It's Boba. Yeah, Boba. There he is.
But yeah, great spectacle and good example of being able to take advantage of the situation, isn't it? Of the year.
And then I guess it can also shows the first point that you see the clones as well, which is a good show, the might and the force of the clones, and obviously the scale and how it was. And then so obviously going on from the stadium, it was also going on to the actual battle on Geonosis between the clones and the droids. Yeah. Which they obviously never had the scale of before in any of them. And this was massive. Just a brilliant, brilliant way.
We've spoken about Darth Maul, so I'll leave that now, because the main thing was the big show of it, the double-sided, the athleticism, something that had been completely different. One of them was Obi-Wan versus General Grievous.
Yep.
We spoke about the four lightsabers, but it's also the scale of their battle, like the transition from that initial fight scene where he chops off two of his arms and then he sods off, basically. He says, sod this, and he starts running off. It's a battle not just in one place, it takes place
all around them, because the clones turn up there.
Yeah, and I think the scale of that was a good addition, as well as the end. It's not killing him through just stabbing him. No. He got knocked down and had to use a gun, which was so uncivilized. But
he hated those.
But I thought the scale of that was good. I thought it was a good addition and a good one of the film. Anything to add? Or?
Another one I had was maybe Hoth as well, and The Empire Strikes Back. The AT-ATs and the actual fight in the trenches and stuff. That was quite a good one because it showed then the might of the Empire being able to bring in these massive walkers and how they came down and everything. that was a brilliant fight. I mean, obviously it was quite short relatively, but it brought in more action
because it also brought in that going around the I can't remember the machine's called, but its legs, the four-legged machine that was shooting.
Yeah,
that was
cable.
one of the epic scenes of the film, wasn't it? Most memorable. Sticking with number 5, the Luke Vader versus Luke Vader. I mean,
Luke Vader.
I mean, technically not wrong.
Yeah.
But then again, I don't think Vader classes as a surname.
No.
Luke versus Darth Vader.
Yeah.
That scene, we talked about it earlier, the fact that you thought he was going to come in, he's been trained by Yoda to a degree.
Yeah.
You thought he was going to come in, stop it, rescue, and he beats him relatively easily. Chops off his hand, wins pretty easily. I think that was best scene. I think we mentioned it earlier, but best scene of the original trilogy.
Yeah, and that was like the first major, massive lightsaber battle. I mean, you had Obi-Wan versus Vader, but that was hardly anything.
Yeah.
Whereas the one between Vader and Luke was definitely more of a fight and showing it and everything. But those were the better battle scenes, except for the last one.
Yep.
That we've seen, I think we can both agree on, if we're thinking of the same one. Anakin versus Obi-Wan.
Yeah, that was the best one.
In Revenge of the Sith. I mean, that was brilliant. That lasted a long time throughout the whole thing. It was massively choreographed, whatever the word is. Yep, that's it.
Longest fight scene, best example of two Jedis in their, or two Force and lightsaber wielders in their time, their prime.
Yeah. Showing you the mastery of their craft, and that's how they are.
Force, different arenas, different sets, like the original bit, going into that control room, going onto that, climbing up that thing, avoiding the magma or lava, going on those machines that float on the lava, which then they're controlling through the Force to make sure that they go in the right way.
Yeah.
And then obviously the final scene, like it's such a long event.
Yeah.
And obviously it was interceded with an actual fight that I've just remembered now, because it's interceded with Yoda versus Sidious.
Yes.
Which I'd forgotten totally now.
Yeah.
I can go on that in a sec, but it's that whole last 20 minutes to half an hour, I can't remember how long it is exactly.
Yeah.
Just a great spectacle.
Massive battle that was.
Yeah. And at least, like, because there's scenes in it where, like, they're physically hitting each other, aren't they?
Yeah.
And the stun thing, lightsabers go to the side and they just whack each other. So,
kicking each other and stuff, yeah.
It's giving examples of everything that they've learned. It's just the biggest
culminating
example.
in one massive final.
Yeah.
Final battle. I mean, it's just brilliant, isn't it? But it also gives you a bit of story as well, because that shows you how Obi-Wan managed to get Anakin's lightsaber.
Yeah. Best example has been, and there's nothing that's come close.
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
I felt like maybe, obviously nothing's come close. I felt like the battle between Rey and Ren in Force Awakens was quite good, because it showed it as a bit more like real, because they did actually hit each other and hurt each other, didn't they?
The only thing I don't like about that is Kylo Ren getting beaten when he's been trained, and Rey picks it up and goes, "I just beaten him."
Yeah, you've just beaten him. Yeah, you don't like it like that, but it just showed it a bit more realistically.
Yeah, there's more realism in it, but then again, I'm going to argue again, because when what's John Boyega's character called?
Finn.
Yeah, because when Finn fights Kylo Ren, he gets slashed across the back.
Yeah. Which
in any other film that would mean death.
Yeah. But no, he survives.
And he doesn't get damaged in the second one. He just wakes up out of his pod and I'm good. But you're right on this realism aspect, that it was more realistic. I think good showing of it.
Yep.
But the one that I just remembered was the Sidious versus Yoda fight.
Yeah.
Which I thought, well, one thing I always found Yoda jumping around, swinging. I always found that funny. But
that's his way of fighting, isn't it? He's small.
I thought the use of the Force in that was a great showing that hasn't been used before either.
Yeah, well, it was more like it was a different fight to Anakin and Obi-Wan, because it was more a fight between two masters of their crafts.
Yeah,
like Yoda and Sidious prefer to use the Force.
Yeah.
We've known that. So that it's like a battle of wills
Yeah.
against the pair of them. It was
both good, and I think the cuts between them, like the cut between Anakin and Obi-Wan, go into Yoda and thing with the music in the background. Music was excellent in that. One of the best scenes in the whole franchise, I think.
Yep.
So I think that's good for all the fight scenes that I can remember. I might have forgotten one that I've done that, but so I want to talk about some of the deaths in the series.
Yeah.
Like some ones that we may have wanted, may or may or may not have wanted effects and such like. Any you got straight away?
Deaths. I would definitely say.
I think I've let you start on everyone, so I don't need to go with one.
Yeah, if you want.
So one I would have liked to have gone on a bit further was Qui-Gon.
Yeah.
Like Qui-Gon's, like I thought I really enjoyed the character of Qui-Gon in the first film, and I like Liam Neeson as an actor. But I think he was one of the most interesting characters of the first film, being, as you say, like this grey Jedi, or grey Force user. That it would have been nice to see more of his character.
Yeah.
And I think because they talk about being objective, but then Obi-Wan sort of beats Darth Maul from the anger from.
Exactly. Yeah.
So a bit of hypocritical
anger of his death. Yeah.
So I think that's a character that had a big effect because he died, and that was a showing of the Sith returning. They then allowed Anakin to be trained by Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
So I think his death had a major effect.
Yeah.
But I think it's also a shame that he died so early because I think he was one of the best characters.
True. Yep. One I've got is Count Dooku's death, because it kind of shows like the start of Anakin's move towards the dark side. Because I felt like Count Dooku's death, and obviously Palpatine pushing him to kill him. Do it. It was kind of like a rite of passage in a way for Sidious to see him do it. Like, you have just killed, because obviously you've got the way of the Sith was the rule of two. There is only ever two, and it's the master and the apprentice. And the apprentice has always tried to kill the master. And
now he's clearing a path for Anakin to fill the spot.
Yeah, he's cleared his own path to move into it. So he didn't want to do it. He said he shouldn't, but he does it anyway, because it does then show its movement. Obviously, Count Dooku, like mastery of the sword, like been beaten by Anakin, because that was a good fight scene as well.
Oh, definitely.
But that shows obviously like he used a bit of his anger as well in that one, didn't he?
Yeah.
And it definitely shows its rite of passage for moving into the dark side there, clearing the way.
Great one. Mace Windu, I think that was the first one with Count Dooku. That's like one of his steps towards it. Mace Windu was the final step, I think. Yeah. Like when Mace Windu died through Anakin stopping him. Yeah. That was the final straw. That was Anakin's gone.
The start, yeah.
And he becomes the apprentice now.
Yeah. But then that obviously moves into another one that's not just another one, the actual purge of the Jedi. So the scenes showing the purges, like the deaths of a lot of the Jedi. Yeah. That was horrific. Like, that was emotional, wasn't it? Because you're seeing them all getting absolutely obliterated.
They're all getting killed by people they may have considered friendly companions, like people they've been travelling with, like Commander Coda, like you say, he talks with Obi-Wan, and then whilst Obi-Wan's running on that lizard thing across the wall, he goes, "Okay, fire."
Blast him. He's only just been given the order, and that's it. No more attachments. You're dead.
I never really read it. Is it programmed into them?
Yes. Right. The expanded universe ways, there was again, like I said, it's going into the expanded universe. They've got like a chip in them that makes them obey those orders.
Okay.
Because in the expanded universe, because they brought out an animated series, I think it was Star Wars Rebels, I think it was called.
Yes.
In it, there's some old clones, like 4 of them, who actually refused to do Order 66, and they took out the chips. So there is like some sort of computer chip in them that causes them to do it. But
yeah, because Anakin kills obviously the youngling. That's one of the famous scenes of it.
Yeah.
People are so grim. Like I'm saying, it's because there's been like memes, like people meme anything, and I saw one the other day doing research for this, and it was like Anakin becoming a Force ghost and basically going to Force heaven,
Yeah.
And then seeing all the
All
younglings
the younglings
watching.
are like, oh.
Just people the internet's great sometimes. But it's, that whole purge scene, seeing all these masters like getting killed, shot down straight away, just seeing the devastation of the Jedi Order basically into
Yeah.
Han Solo.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
It was a shocking one, wasn't it?
Mm.
It obviously it showed how far Kylo Ren had actually gone.
Yeah.
That even his dad couldn't bring him back.
Like you say, shocking. It was one that you thought this was going to be in the general, like the classic.
Mm-hmm.
He turns back because it's his dad, and then he goes,
nope.
It's like just something different for the film. I think it was a really good into character. I think it's also one of those canon things as well, isn't it? It's just like you've seen this character in the original trilogy and is one of the most fan favourite characters in the Star Wars universe, Han Solo.
Yeah.
And you just see him cut down by his own son.
Yeah, that's it, dead. You'd think he'd be dying somehow else, wouldn't you?
And then you've got like Chewie there watching. Oh, there's a scene, is it at the end of Force Awakens? People got so annoyed because Leia hugged Rey first.
Yeah, but not Chewie.
People got so...
Like, you didn't even know Han. You'd literally known him for days. You should have gone straight to Chewie, like, sorry Chewie, you've lost your mate of years and years and years.
But Leia's very forgiving, isn't she?
I know.
Like, she's like, I know it's her son and everything, but she's like, it's only at the end of like the 8th film when Luke finally appears as like that apparition. Yeah, she goes, I finally understand. Like he's not Ben anymore. You don't think?
Finally, Jesus.
Luke.
Yeah, I don't understand how he fully died. Still, it's a strange one.
Something like the exertion of using the Force.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that. That's how he died. This is the thing I spoke about earlier with canonising stuff. Like he's dead now. There's
nothing
apart from convoluted reasons that someone could probably come up with, like resurrection or something like that. He's gone. He's dead. That's in the books. Wrote down. It's stamped. That's it.
Yeah.
And I didn't like the way he went out.
No.
It's just and Mark Hamill wasn't very happy with where the character was taken either throughout the whole film. Like there's compilations of stuff where he's like going, so what you thought on The Last Jedi? So he wasn't happy with the don't quote me, just read up yourself, but from what I've seen, that he wasn't happy with where the character of Luke was taken. And I wasn't a fan of it either. But I think that was a very disappointing end to such a pinnacle character.
Yeah, exactly.
I think we might have already I think we've already said it, sort of. But which do you think is the worst film?
I think I kind of said it was maybe The Phantom Menace in a way, because as much as it brings you back into it, and you've got the fight scene between Darth Maul, Obi-Wan, and Qui-Gon, and then you've got the pod racing as well, which is quite good. Otherwise, it's kind of bland, a lot of talking, a lot of politics, so I don't think it's not the strongest one.
Yeah. Definitely
It's not the strongest. And I think that one is just above The Last Jedi in how bad it can be. Yeah. That's my opinion now. What about you?
I'd probably reverse them. I think Last Jedi is
the
below
worst.
it. Just because there's so much wasted. Not to say there isn't in The Phantom Menace, because obviously the favourite character ever, Jar Jar Binks, and that whole thing of it.
Oh yeah.
But with The Last Jedi, I think they just put a lot of filler in there, like the love story of Finn.
Oh, that was awful.
That just, no, you didn't need that. And then the casinos, that whole half the film that's between Finn, his love interest of it, going to the casino, doing all that.
Horrible.
None of it was needed, and it just seemed like it was there to put up screen time.
Yeah. That love interest thing was just weird.
Yeah.
Because like the part that really annoyed me when I watched the film was obviously he was going to sacrifice himself to
and she comes out of nowhere.
She comes out of nowhere, hits him like, you don't win by destroying, you do it by saving who you love.
Have you not seen Independence Day?
No. You win wars by fighting, by killing them. You don't do it by saving everyone. Oh,
yeah, I don't know how she got ahead of him either. Because obviously he focused straight down, they turned off, and suddenly she puts on the NOS just to get ahead of him. Yeah, that whole thing just every time it cut to it was just like, no. And I think even with the Luke scenes, like when she's on the island with him, none of that really. There's the Force scenes, which was interesting.
Yeah.
When he talks about like Sidious and stuff like that was interesting, but the vast majority of it was boring, really.
Yeah.
The only not the interesting part, the main thing of it was the conversations between Rey and Kylo Ren.
Yeah.
And I thought that was weird. Like
communicating with
him. It was interesting, but it just was odd. Like the scene where, can you put on a shirt? I was just like, what is this? Like, is it some rom-com?
Yeah.
Something like that. So yeah, I preferred. I could rewatch Phantom Menace a lot more than I could rewatch The Last Jedi, and that's why I put Phantom Menace above Last Jedi. So that's worst films. Characters that you are not fan of?
Jar Jar Binks. Need I say more?
I mean,
just weird. Like, I know George Lucas said that they were bringing in a new animalistic.
Yeah, who was he meant to be like? He was
Chewbacca.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
he was meant to be like the replacement for Chewbacca.
Yeah,
failed miserably, and then he turns up in the start of Attack of the Clones as well. Like, Obi, so good to see you. Oh, shut up.
But it's funny because he was the first computer-generated character in interacting with real people.
Yeah.
That was the very first example in film. So that's
just awful.
It's the annoyance of the character.
Yeah.
I don't think it's as bad as people. I think he only gets so much hate because it's such a passionate community.
Yeah.
And it's actually had some really bad effects as well. Like the actor who played him said he said in an interview last 2008. He had an interview in 2018 and said he thought about committing suicide because of how much hate the community had directed at him because of his
ridiculous.
Which I can't say anything about his mental health or anything, but you can understand it from the amount of blowback from the community, like the vast volume of that. You can't imagine it couldn't have had some sort of effect on the actor. Yeah, Jar Jar Binks was
poorly written.
It generated a lot of emotion in the Star Wars community.
Because the Battle of Naboo, when he's helping fight against the droid army,
or tripping over
everything. He's not Chewbacca. Never will be.
I think even the comparison is a shame, really, isn't it?
Awful.
Is there any other what do you think of the new trio, like Rey, Poe, Finn? What do you think of them?
I like Poe as a character. He's quite good. He's quite righteous and funny. Finn can be all right. Rey, I don't know. I don't really know much about her. Scavenger. She was left by her parents, wasn't she? We still don't know who her parents were, do we?
No one.
She was.
In number 8, they were literally no one.
Yeah. She's just a weird one. Again, it's like her trying to be the new Luke again, isn't it? But it's not the best, the strongest of the trilogies, definitely, when it comes to the trio. I can like stuff about them and not like stuff about them.
Yeah.
What about you?
Because it's such a big film, but I don't see them as leaders of that film series.
You don't see them coming back for another trilogy like as cameos, do you?
No, not really.
Not like the others.
What's name? Because they were iconic characters like Luke, Han, Leia, Chewbacca. All these are iconic characters that they could sell merchandise forever.
Yeah.
But I think Rey, probably just Rey, would be able to be a kind of iconic character for probably a lot of women, because obviously she's been a good big female character who's leading this trilogy of films in this big community. But Poe and Finn, they're not to the same extent really. No. That I thought. Not a worse character, but one of the characters in the most recent one, I can't remember her name, but the purple-haired woman.
Yes.
She was a weird one with me because I didn't like her character.
No.
But then as they went into the end, where it was just like Poe, like you've seen Poe as this hero figure who's trying to do everything, and then you realise he's just going gung-ho into everything, and they're actually trying to do...
Sort out. But she had no communication skills whatsoever. Oh, no. If you're meant to tell your people what's going to happen, this is what we're doing, we're going to go here. Rather, it seemed like she was just coming off as, we're just running away. Like, no, you're going to kill us here.
Did have one of the best scenes of the film.
Yes.
Well, probably the best scene of the film, actually, with the light speed into the cruiser and shattering and everything.
No sound either.
One of the best example. So there was a scene with the going light speed and going through them all. That brings in the thing of how come someone didn't do it previously?
Yeah.
I mean, it's an odd example because it's a suicide, it's a kamikaze, isn't it?
Yes, it
so
is,
that's probably the biggest reason that
no one wanted to do it.
Exactly. But that was just another one that people have brought up previously, saying, "Oh, so you can do this? So why haven't they done it previously?"
Yeah.
And or even autopiloted like a thing to go into light speed into something. Another odd one, sort of, is because you wanted to bring this up about canonizing games and like which games are canon. Because the only ones I played are The Force Unleashed, which brings in a character called Galen Marek, who... Because this is an odd one, because this used to be canon, where... Have you played the games?
Yeah.
So Galen Marek was a boy who was the son of a Jedi who Vader killed his father and adopted him, basically, and became his apprentice. And he did missions, and he grew up, and he was a master of the dark side, and then he went out on missions and basically transitioned to the light side and built the original rebellion, the Resistance. So the canon story of that was him and several others founded the Resistance, and that was canon. But then they changed it with some comics or some other thing, but that used to be canon, and I think that was a really good introduction. I thought that was a really great story.
To then be betrayed by Vader.
Yeah, he then got betrayed by Vader, and then he sacrificed himself to allow the other Resistance member founders to escape.
Yeah.
But he was at least portrayed in the games, and I think they made a comparative book or comic series to be as powerful or more powerful than Vader. I think they went up there. At least.
Well, it's when they started off the game, didn't it? I said a force nearby, something stronger.
Oh yeah, his kid was stronger than his dad at kid
level. So
because he beat Vader, didn't he? And then he went and he attacked, and then he battled Sidious, didn't he?
Yeah.
But then he got beaten by Sidious. But I really enjoyed the game series, and I enjoyed the thought of the series being canon to the original sequel, the original series. But those are the only ones I've played.
Yeah, I've not played much more. I've played Knights of the Old Republic a little bit, which I feel like they could definitely canonize. They've definitely canonised that, because Knights of the Old Republic is set thousands of years before the films. So that, like you said before, they've got free reign to do whatever they want. So that could, I guess, be canonised.
Yeah.
And then I've also played the Jedi Knights. So I've played Jedi Outcast and Jedi Academy.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like in between the original and the sequel. So like say like Jedi Academy is you're just another new Jedi that's going to a temple to be trained by Luke.
Yeah. And
it's going on about the story there, and your choice is either you go towards the light side even more, or you become a Sith. You could say it could be canonised, because it could be like the start of when obviously Luke is trying to train people, Or you could not canonise it because you could just say, oh, it's just entertainment for people, it's just bringing out a game, couldn't you?
Yeah.
You never know. But it's the same like other films. Like, would you say that the Solo film is canon?
But the Solo film is canon, isn't it?
Well, I haven't seen it. I haven't seen the Solo film, but Rogue One.
Because this is more talking about like side things to the original series.
But then that's the same for games because it's side pieces to the games, to the films. Because like I've also played Battlefront 2, which is the story of a Imperial captain who you play as just another soldier who you're like special forces, and the game starts off with you working on you fighting on Endor, and you see the Death Star blowing up.
Yep.
And then she realises, the main character, she realises that the Empire is a bit evil.
Yeah.
And doesn't want any part anymore and changed to the Resistance.
Took her a while to notice.
I know, a long while to notice, because she was asked to execute a few people. She didn't want to do it, so she moved. She moved.
She migrated.
Yeah, and that game finished with the Battle of Jakku.
Yeah.
Which obviously we saw like the remains of in A Force Awakens. So you guess you could call that canon as well, because it's between trilogies, so there's nothing in the films about its characters you've never seen before and will never see again, so you can't really ruin much else with that. Because I could say it's the same for Rogue One when it comes to the film. You can't really ruin much with that, can you?
Because it's its own thing that's not going to interact with anything within the main series.
And at the end, spoilers, if you've never seen Rogue One,
everyone dies.
So you'll never see them again.
Yeah.
And it just carries on.
I mean, the main point of the side, apart from Solo, which is obviously some backstory to Han, but I've never seen the film.
Yeah, I've never seen it.
But from what I've seen, it's just like extra detail on Han.
Yeah.
But like Rogue One is a great example of something they can expand the Star Wars universe but not interacting or affecting the main series of it, which I think is good, and I think is a good way of doing it.
It kind of also brings it into the original one, how they got the Death Star plans. Which is a really good way.
So last thing I want to go into is like episode 9.
Yep.
Like our thoughts going into episode 9. What do they need to finalise? What do they need to fix? What do they need to tie up?
Well, they need to obviously tie up this First Order thing.
Yeah.
Because if they move on after that, like they're gonna have to have with the end trilogy, it's gonna have to be a main battle to finish off the First Order.
Yeah.
Get this out of the way, because otherwise you're just going to be bringing in another film where it's like, oh, the First Order was never really broken.
Yep.
It's like, well, so you need to tie up the Resistance and the First Order being, this is it now.
Yep.
Like I said, possible redemption of Kylo Ren
Yep.
going on towards the Vader thing. Will he change or will he not? Will he just die?
I can see it happening. Does something that leads to Sidious's death or whoever is going to be the main thing and then dies in the process. I think it's going to be a
copy.
I think so.
A copy of...
It may not be, but I could see that happening because of what he's done up to now. He's killed Han.
Yep.
Had the moment in The Last Jedi to come back and goes, no, I'm going to actually just let everything die.
Yeah.
So I think death's the only big redeeming way they can express it, especially in just one last film. Like they can't drag it out.
No. And maybe the final point they've made to do is Rey mastering the Force a bit more.
Yeah.
Another copy of Luke.
Well, that's an interesting one to do with, because he had several masters, didn't he? He had Obi-Wan, and then he had Yoda. He had both of them as Force Ghosts, didn't he?
Yeah.
But Rey's only had no one, basically.
She had a little bit of Luke, and that's about it.
She didn't really have anything from Luke, did she?
No.
She just got a couple of pointers, basically. She's never been taught, and yet she's meant to fight Sidious, who's stronger than Vader, who's stronger than anything we've seen in the current series.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's going to come... I think there's going to be some left field way to win. But what I will say is it's J.J. Abrams directing this one, and he does really good films like he did Force Awakens. It must have been gutting as hell to like have to let go of the middle section, because it's basically like going, okay, I've got my vacuum cleaner. What do I need to clean up now? Like going to do the 9th one. Oh, Luke's dead. Oh, I was going to do something with him.
Yeah, I'll have to change that.
Making edits to the script he already wrote. So yeah, I think those are the main ones. Snoke wants something said about, because otherwise he was just there.
Yeah.
And if he's just there, there was
no point to him.
Yeah. First Order, I can see them. Main villain dies, and then they'll leave it to assume that because there's no leader, the First Order broke up.
Yeah.
I think just the same as they did in the Return of the Jedi, that they killed the Emperor, and prior to Force Awakens, you assumed that the Empire broke up because there was no leader heading it.
Yeah.
I imagine to save time, that's what they'll do for the First Order.
Yeah.
I'd like to see if there's any more cameos. I'd like to see. Do you reckon Luke will come back in this?
Yeah, I reckon he'll definitely be around. I mean, he obviously, when he used the Force, overexerted himself in the Force, he disappeared, didn't he? So maybe he knows how to become a Force ghost. Yeah,
I'd say so. Well, he's already done the Force apparitions thing, so I think it'd be a bit. Unless I don't know, like, because I've said Mark Hamill's opinion on Episode 8, but different film, different
possibly
director.
Bring him out, yeah.
I think it'll pop up. I don't think there's anything else. Do you reckon cameo from Vader or Anakin?
No, I think that should be done.
Yeah.
I think Vader's had enough. Let him rest.
Let him rest.
He's had his time. So I think there won't be many. If there are any cameos, it will be like small little ones or none at all. I think this is just to get this all tied together.
Yeah.
And finally done.
Post, if there is post, which I imagine there will be post Episode 9, Episode 10, 11, 12. We brought up a bit last week, but if they do it, I would want them to leave Leia. I know obviously Carrie Fisher's died, but well, they've all died now, aren't they? Because I imagine Leia's going to die in this film to try and have some sort of closure to the character, so they can't bring her back or have any reason to bring her back in the future films. But all those characters should be set aside. Yeah. After number 9,
bring some new ones in.
And they should be their own thing. Whether that is a continuation with Rey, or if it's going to be a brand new set of characters, it should be something new.
It needs originality now. To change it, instead of just, we've made a new trilogy, we're going to repeat what happened, we're going to repeat. Can't do that. Good. Make something new.
Because calling it the end of Skywalker, I think's good, because it's already been seen that 7, 8 hasn't been its own thing. It's tried to be its own thing, but it's still not a harsh way. It's leeching off the old characters. 7 was cameo filled, and he's based off, and it's continuation of the characters as well. It's Ben Solo. It's from Han and Leia. Last Jedi, it's based around Luke Skywalker, and even like Snoke's main thing was trying to find Luke and kill him, wasn't it? And comparing Kylo Ren to Darth Vader. Everything's going from that original series, which they wouldn't not do because it's a sequel trilogy. It's a sequel trilogy. But anything new after number 9, I'd want it relatively fresh. Still the same universe, of course. You could have like the legendary Luke in a reference or something like that, but
not showing anything.
No,
just say speak
like
about them.
Easter eggs, something like that. But yeah, any thoughts on anything from that?
No, I think we've done all right there.
Do you think any ideas characters who you think will die in number 9? Apart from Ben Solo, because
that's what I think. Definitely Ben,
or Kylo Ren, whichever one.
Maybe Finn. And maybe Finn, Leia, maybe possibly Poe. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll find out soon enough.
Yeah. So, like we said at the start of this episode, we're watching episode 9 this coming week, and then the next podcast is going to be on episode 9. So that should be interesting. Aye. So that's enough for today. Thank you very much for listening. If you want to hear any more or let us know any of your thoughts, we're on social at Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook at the What's On Podcast, and at Twitter at _What's On Podcast. Thanks very much for listening.
Thank you very much. See ya.